Alright, one of the first things we're going to install is the pen testers framework. So I'm still logged into the C2 server, and you can Google for pen testers framework. It's going to yield the same thing. And then we're just going to go ahead and git clone this, and we can git clone it right into a root directory if we want. And one of the things that we're going to want to do before we install this, but I'll go ahead and run this and show you what happens, is it's going to say that we don't have Python installed. If we run a which Python, sure enough, we don't get any results. Python's probably not installed. So we can run an apt update and an apt install Python. Let's go ahead and install Python for us. And one of the things that you probably won't know to do ahead of time is install some of the supplementary dependencies that PTF requires to install some underlying tools. So I'm going to run through the installation without those tools, and then I'll show you the failure and what to do to diagnose it. I mean, ideally it's Google, but I've already done that for you. So we'll go ahead and run the pen testers framework, and then just like with any tool, use its instructions to help you. So run a question mark and see what your options are. I see there's a search in here. We want to install Empire. That's on our list of things to do today. So let's go ahead and search for Empire, and then use modules, PowerShell, Empire, and then we can run a question mark again and see what the options are. But let's just go ahead and hit install, and it will install it for us. And one of the things you'll want to look for while it's installing this is typically with tools, especially in the kind of pen testing realm, not everything is thoroughly tested. It's not a commercial product. You're not paying for this, so it's kind of an open source best effort for folks to build and support and maintain this. And sometimes it has problems, just like commercial software, but in this instance, there's really not a lot of incentive for the developers to, not go to their kids' baseball games and fix this so that, a couple bugs are worked out. So there will be bugs. When it's installing, take a look through the logs as they scroll by and make sure you're not seeing a ton of errors. Tons of errors mean the tool probably didn't get installed properly, and you'll need to fix it. And typically that requires Googling for the error message, finding some guy on Stack Overflow or within the GitHub issues pages that is describing the exact same error, and usually a fix for it that maybe just hasn't rolled up into the final version. One of the things you might want to check is that you're on the most recent branch. With PTF, I really only see a master branch, but with something like Empire, you'll see on their GitHub page far more versions, and especially for Empire, most recent commit was back in 2018. That's going to be pretty old. If you run the dev branch, the most recent commit was just a couple months ago. It's going to be a much more recent version. I would suggest installing Empire straight from their GitHub repo to ensure that it's up to date. but to be honest, the installation process is not quite as straightforward, and the pen test framework does have quite a few other advantages, like installing other tools. Okay, so this is kind of what I was talking about as far as getting some errors. We can scroll up and see tracebacks, which means there's a lot of issues going on. And it looks like something stemming from installing some crypto. So I've Googled this in the past, and I don't remember exactly what the issue was, but it's a dependency issue. So if we just go ahead and exit Empire, basically what we're going to want to do is throw out this installation. It's unfortunate, it's a waste of time, but this is a learning experience. It teaches you how to figure out how to install these things. So in this instance, I think the dependency was OpenSSL for Python, PyOpenSSL, which is a package for Python. I think that's what the case was. So let's go ahead and install it and try it out. That should provide the cryptography packages that we need. In fact, I think it even tries to install it, but there's some sort of dependency. So let's try this. If it doesn't work, there's one other package that it might be. So let's give this one a try. Requirement already satisfied. Well, maybe it's an order of operations issue. So either way, let's destroy or remove the previous installation, and we'll go back into PTF and install it again. It may have just been an order of operations issue. Sure enough. So we didn't even need to run another command. We just kind of needed to delete it and reinstall. As you can see, it tries to put these packages in, and I guess if it's going in the wrong order, that's what we get for errors. So that's installed now. Another one we will want to do is the Metasploit framework. So let's search for Metasploit. Guess we need to go back. So it looks like there's only one that we can use, or we should be using, which is this modules exploitation Metasploit. So use modules exploitation Metasploit, install. And this will probably take a little while. There are also some options, as you might have seen on browsing the web page for PTF. The instructions recommend install, update, all for updating everything or installing everything. That takes a really long time. You're welcome to do this, but if you're just setting it up for a couple tools, I recommend just doing an ultralight installation and only installing the stuff you really need. So it looks like that finished. Let's just scroll up and make sure we don't see any bunches of errors. That looks pretty clean. So we can exit now, and one of the things that will be helpful in using this stuff, if you go back to the PowerShell Empire and hit Info, it'll tell you exactly where it's installed it. So we can exit from PTF, and then we can run an ls. Well, let's see if we have tree installed. Probably not. Okay. This is just a helpful little utility. So we can run a tree on pen test. Well, it's a little bit too verbose. I think we can do... there's a way to set the depth. L. Okay, let's try this again. Okay, that's closer to what we wanted. So this will give you an understanding of like what tools you already have installed. And in this instance, we've got PowerShell Empire installed in this PowerShell Empire PS directory. If you installed everything, you'll have hundreds and hundreds of tools in here, and it makes CDing into these directories a lot slower because you have to hunt through all the different tools. So having a fewer tools and just the ones you need is somewhat helpful in finding them as well. So let's go over to this directory, and you'll see that although there isn't necessarily full instructions in here, there is an Empire binary, so we can just get that running, and we're good to go. So let's just go ahead and exit, and we did see in the I think it was the exploitation directory that there was something in Metasploit, and let's just go ahead and read what that says. So this is just kind of a instruction on how it was installed. So in this particular instance, although there is a, PTF does install things mostly in the pentest directory, with this particular tool being MSF console, it just installs so that it's globally available, and you can type MSF and then all the different MSF things like MSF Venom, MSF Update, and obviously the MSF console. So just go ahead and test that out, make sure it works as expected. And sure enough, that starts up just fine, as we would expect as well. So that's getting the tools installed and working. That's a big portion of it. In the next segment, we'll get the listeners configured and start using them.